maybe you should just watch 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Are you ready for the Midnightly Show, the only pop culture show on the internet besides the thousands of others? Here's your host. It's Matt.
In case you missed it, the Cloverfield Paradox was announced during a trailer at the Super Bowl last week. We knew another Cloverfield movie was coming, but we didn't really know many details. Out of the blue, they announced that it'd be on Netflix that day. It's definitely a bold business move, and it's by far the most interesting part of the movie, which probably isn't a good sign for the actual movie. Okay, but before I talk about the fun, crazy business side of it, let me talk about the actual movie. I know, everyone wants the business side. Just be patient, I'll get to it eventually. First I gotta tell you what I thought of the movie. Mild spoilers ahead, and I really think this movie is better if you just go in blind. So maybe go watch it and then come back. Or just keep watching, because it was, I'll tell you now, it was okay. It was okay, it wasn't... Let me ask you a question. Did you think that movie Life with Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal that came out last year was only okay? Well, guess what? You're gonna think the Cloverfield Paradox is also only alright. Look, I had fun with this movie. It's not a good movie, but I had fun. It definitely feels like a B-grade sci-fi made-for-television movie sometimes. I guess that's not really an insult these days, considering how good television is, especially with shows like Black Mirror. It almost feels like a big-budgeted Black Mirror episode, but not one of the really good ones. The one you watch and you're like, oh, yeah, that was alright. Hopefully the next one's better. Straight away, the exposition is very clunky. It pulls the classic move of characters watching news reports of someone explaining exactly what is going on. Extra points for interviewing a crackpot conspiracy theorist who's actually correct. Is it weird that the message in a lot of these movies is that, hey, you know those crackpot conspiracy theorists? Maybe they're right. Maybe we should be listening to them. I do like the world and the ideas they set up in this movie. This world that's running out of energy, society is on the brink of collapse. I think it's been done before, and I guess a lot better as well. This version isn't very nuanced. The main plot explores the concept of a particle accelerator tearing apart the space-time continuum, which is based slightly on reality. For instance, when they had the Large Hadron Collider, I know there were some people saying there was like a 0.0001% chance that it would destroy the world. I think a vast majority of scientists agreed there's no chance.
Is it going to create, do you have any idea of what's going to come out afterwards? Are we going to be around to see it? Because, I've been hearing stories about a black hole that's going to eat all of...
And that was definitely enough to freak me out. 0.0001%, that's basically 100%. It also brings up other moral conundrums, such as, would you try and save your family even if it meant destroying the space-time continuum? By the way, I have no idea if I'm using space-time continuum correctly. I just like saying space-time continuum. The social-political dynamics between warring nations on the brink of destruction. The morality of the impending apocalypse. The concept of every decision you've ever made has already been made 1,000 times. So does free will even exist? The ideas are brought up, but they're never committed to or explored thoroughly. It takes a back seat to kind of wacky space shenanigans. That is another major problem this movie has, is there are no actual rules to anything that happens. Like, the main explanation for everything that happens is the dimensions are merging, so everything's messed up. Cue an hour and a half of just crazy, wacky things happening. Whoa, there's a woman in the wall. Ooh, worms are coming out of people. There's a severed, all-knowing, sentient arm. Basically just things happen and they're just weird, and it creates good mystery, but there's never really a meaningful explanation of it. Like the arm, you think it's probably just been controlled by... They've already said that the guy in the other dimension has already crashed the guy from the other dimension. But who's controlling the arm? I thought there were some okay performances, but none of them have particularly good arcs that go anywhere. I always have issues with movies that have too many characters. If there isn't enough time to develop characters effectively, just cut them or like merge them with different characters. I'd much prefer 3 compelling characters than 8 bland ones. You just have to feel something towards them. A big part of this movie is seeing the crew members in danger and get hurt. And if they're not compelling characters, then you just don't care. And I didn't care. Look, I had fun with this movie. That was another problem. Nothing that happens in this movie has any weight. There was a couple times where this major event would happen, and then it would abruptly cut to just the crew figuring out what to do next. So there's never enough time to really take in what has happened. The more I talk about this movie, the more I think I might not like it. But I swear I still had a good time. Now I know what you're saying. That's a lot of negatives, and I said I liked it? That doesn't make much sense. Let me explain something. 2017 was a fantastic year for movies. I have always been someone who reads everything before a movie comes out. I watch all the trailers. And so one of two things always happen. I either go into it knowing everything, and there being no surprises, or the movie had gotten amazing reviews, and so I overhype it in my head, and it inevitably disappoints me. So my plan in 2018 was to watch no trailers, to read no reviews, and to go in blind for most movies. And this movie just happened to be perfect for me. I just watched the movie, and that's why I think I still had fun with it. It was fun to discover all the plot points. I knew literally nothing about it, except it was in space. So yeah, I'd definitely recommend knowing as little as possible going into this movie. So this is the third movie in the Cloverfield franchise. J.J. Abrams is the head of the whole movie franchise. The weird thing is that both the Cloverfield Paradox and 10 Cloverfield Lane were both not originally supposed to be Cloverfield movies. They were both original scripts. It's been confirmed that the Cloverfield Paradox had already started filming before they realized how it could be a Cloverfield movie. The scenes on Earth were clearly the scenes that were added, and they are by far the worst part of the movie. The story doesn't work by itself and adds nothing to the main story. It was absolutely pointless. With 10 Cloverfield Lane, which was amazing by the way. Please watch 10 Cloverfield Lane instead of this movie, please. That movie was a really good contained thriller that had these extra bits that were used to connect it to the overall universe. Again, they were the worst parts. See, I both love and hate what J.J. Abrams is doing with this franchise. I think J.J. Abrams really needs to rethink how he implements the Cloverfield universe aspects. But on the other hand, first off, he's getting new up-and-coming directors. If you look at 10 Cloverfield Lane, the Cloverfield Paradox, and the Cloverfield movie that's coming out later this year, yes, another one, they are all directed by first-time directors. So what he's doing is he's taking first-time directors, pairing them with an original script, and he's giving them a big budget. That big budget is only possible because it's a Cloverfield movie, and people will go and see it no matter what. So he can make these original movies, but loosely tie them to this franchise, and they'll do well. And I think that's pretty cool. So these elements are the worst parts of these movies, but 10 Cloverfield Lane is still an amazing movie. And the Cloverfield Paradox? Alright, now what you've been waiting for, the business side. A lot of people have been saying that this is an ingenious marketing move, and I agree. I'm interested to know if anyone else is going to try it after this, because I think it worked. If you look at the behind the scenes sort of stuff, the reasoning behind this decision is a lot more cynical. It has been reported that Paramount sold this movie to Netflix for $50 million, with a budget of $45 million. Now, I know what you're thinking, $5 million is not very big for a major studio, and it's not. But do you know what's worse than having a $5 million profit? Losing money. Paramount was getting worried and thought it was going to flop. And with good reason. Life came out in 2017 and flopped. And if you look at the reviews, they're very mixed. Critic reviews have been pretty negative for the most part. And Paramount would have known this from test screenings. By releasing it the day of the trailer, they didn't have to pay any money in marketing. I'm guessing Netflix paid for the Super Bowl ad. I really hope Netflix doesn't become a dumping ground for movies. I could see it being the next straight-to-DVD option. Netflix is desperate for big blockbusters, so they're willing to pay for really anything. As they get more opportunities, I'm sure they'll become a little bit more selective, but for the moment, they're really just buying anything. It seems in the future it'll become a thing where if studios think the movie's gonna bomb, they'll just sell it to Netflix. But yeah, I had fun with the movie, but it's very flawed. See, I'm not very good at ratings. I'm gonna give it one severed, sentient, all-knowing arm out of multiple universes. I think if you go in blind, there's fun to be had. But otherwise, maybe you should just skip it. The irony being that if you made it this far in the review, it's probably already ruined for you. That's the paradox. The Cloverfield Paradox? What?
Please subscribe.